Hello, I'm Aubrey, your virtual, not local, virtual astrologer, unless you happen to be local, in which case I'm your local astrologer. Anyway, this is a selection of questions I got for my Q&A. Ask Aubrey. I'm going to answer all of them, but if you're not here live listening to this, you can always send them in like you did, and I'm going to answer them to the best of my ability. So let me start with the first question that I received. It says, I understand my chart, but nothing really changes. Okay, here's the thing. I understand my chart, but nothing changes. In your life, I find that hard to believe. Maybe you mean for the better, or I probably need more explanation for your question, but I'm going to answer it how I think you meant it. If you understand your chart, okay, your birth chart, if you understand this map of who you are from as described from the moment of birth, then you've probably studied astrology for years, or you studied your chart for years, or you've had readings for years. And if nothing has changed, by that, I'm going to assume that you mean it's been interesting, but maybe not super helpful. I'm just guessing here. And that can happen. And here is why. Because astrology is a lot of information. It's just, especially if you've ever had a reading with me, you know it's a lot of information. The point of a reading is not information. I mean, it is, but it's not. That's the first level of intent, or that's the first layer of what you get from an astrology reading. I understand my chart, but nothing is changing. Well, you have a lot of information. That is not the same thing as using the information. I mean, I have so much information that I don't use. It's crazy. I have learned things about myself and about life that I could probably write books on. And yet, sometimes, often, I don't use the information, or I forget it, or I ignore it, or I disregard it, or I have conflicting information and I don't know which information to listen to. So, astrology does change your life when you use it as a foundation for understanding who you are and what you have to express in every area of life in this lifetime. It's a map of expression, which means that you have to take in all of this information, sit with pieces of it as life happens. You can't digest your whole chart kind of in one sitting. You can get a lot of information in one sitting, but it's really going to be when you use that information, when you bump up against something in life that you want to change. So, an example would be, and I'm actually thinking of this because I got another one, a question that's related to this. So maybe I'll do that second. If you want to change your career, right? Or if you want to find your path, your purpose, your career, or you want to redefine yourself in your current career, or you want to make a total shift and you don't even know if this is right, or if you're just restless, or anyway, just take career. Well, there are many places you can look in your natal chart that will offer you big hints or clues that you can follow to discover whether you're living aligned with your purpose, with your true purpose. There are lots of planets and signs and symbolic setups in the chart that will indicate, hey, go here. This is a good mission for you. And then you can look at your current situation, your current job, or your current career path, or whatever brick wall you've bumped up against, your restlessness, maybe, or maybe something has happened and you've lost your job, or any scenario. And you can ask yourself, you can use the information from your natal chart and ask yourself, what parts of myself have not been used in this role? Because I guarantee you, whatever you're up against, whatever feels like a block or an obstacle or something that you're up against, there's an edge of this isn't working, or I'm uncomfortable, or this part of my life is breaking down. I guarantee you there is a part of you that is not being expressed. And whatever part of life feels difficult or blocked or hard or not changing, like the question or comment said, I promise you, it is a symptom that your system is sending out to say, hey, pay attention to this part of your soul expression. It needs to come out. So I hope that makes sense. So it's not the astrology, it's that you're not living it intentionally. You're not embodying it. You're not using the information for your benefit. One of the best things the natal chart does is provide a whole list of questions that you can ask yourself, ways to reflect on. Let's just say, like, I have a Pisces sun. If I'm feeling like I'm in a funk, and mine is in the 10th house, if I'm feeling my sun, if I'm feeling a little dull or, I don't know, devitalized, maybe I'm running out of energy or something is not happening in my career purpose, my role in the world, I can look at my natal chart and say, hey, Aubrey, are you really using your imagination? Are you living creatively in public? Are you letting other people in on this mystical part of who you are? Are you showing up to help people in that way, in this role, in this Pisces style role? Are you enjoying yourself on some sort of public stage now, like a kind of a shapeshifter, or as in a compassionate role of healing or something like that? And 9 times out of 10, if I don't feel like very vital or alive, it's because I've been doing something that is not feeding my sun. It's not allowing my sun to radiate outward. Same goes for the moon. If you're not taking care of yourself in the way that your natal chart says, like, hey, you need to take care of yourself in this way and this way and this way, you're going to feel it. And external circumstances will start to mirror whatever is going on within you. So I hope that's not too vague and actually helpful. Bottom line, this is consciousness work. I use the natal chart these days as like the foundational, like bedrock foundation for building anything you want to manifest. We put it on top of the natal chart. It is an identity document. The natal chart is the manual that can describe perfectly your work to form a healthy identity. So, okay, let's try find something not so vague. Okay, I have like 9 questions. I'm not going to do all 9, but let me just pick maybe 1 or 2 more. Okay, someone asked about their Saturn return. So, my Saturn return is happening now. I don't know. It just says it's happening. What should I expect? I don't know if it's your first Saturn return or your second Saturn return. Doesn't matter, but you need to know that there are two major, well, I mean, three if you live a really long time, but we have two big Saturn returns that everybody talks about. One is between the ages of 28 and 30. It takes 29 and a half years for Saturn to come back to where it was when you were born. So that first 29 and a half years is your first Saturn return. And then it takes another 29 and a half years for it to go around again. And that's your second Saturn return. But Saturn is not a speedy planet. It moves rather slowly. So, a Saturn return lasts a couple of years, right? When does it actually begin and actually end? It's like a dimmer switch. You start to feel it. It also has some hits, where it makes these exact hits. So there might be like a triplicate of an escalating theme. But here's the bottom line with Saturn. First, we have to think about what the planet is that's returning. It's Saturn. And Saturn in your natal chart shows you where your great work is, where you are to be up against something kind of big in your life. It's the kind of big, great work. It's the planet that describes where you've got some hurdles and challenges and will experience blocks in the form of growth opportunities. So Saturn doesn't make things easy, but it gives you responsibility bones. It's also the planet that has to do with your bones. It gives you backbone. It gives you responsibility and maturity and discipline. I should rephrase that. Saturn tends to create conditions in which you have to learn how to show up in the world with maturity and responsibility and discipline. It is where you have to earn your wisdom. So we're not automatically wise where Saturn is. Have you ever met a super wise 3-year-old? I mean, 3-year-olds can be smart, but wise, yes, they'll say very profound things. But in general, it's life experience, the reality that we come up against that helps us learn from our experiences. And then we become wiser and we get sort of weathered and toughened, and we start to see reality for what it is. We get our head out of the clouds and our feet on the ground. It's very earthy and responsible. So Saturn, it's the planet of aging and calcifying and constricting and limits. It's very conservative by nature, not politically. Well, yes, politically, but just in general, it conserves, it holds in energy. It doesn't want things to expand out of control. It wants to control. It's the part of us that wants to define and control and know where we stand, right? And the fact of the matter is, we don't always know where we stand. There's a lot of uncertainty in life, right? So Saturn is the part of us, all of these planetary energies are a part of us, is the way we approach reality and create conditions like limits and constraints within which we'll feel safe. Now, what do we do with that if we actually want to grow? Well, we have to do two things. We have to break down those limits that we've created and make new ones that allow us to be bigger and to grow more and to expand. And we have to learn to discipline our movements in a way that we can actually build something in our life. So one example would be if you have Saturn energy in a relationship. Well, that's the energy of creating the limits of a committed relationship. And within that, We use discipline and maturity to commit to someone in the context of, say, a marriage or just a committed relationship. And that Saturn containment allows us to walk down the street or go to a party and not sleep with everyone in the party if we're feeling so inclined. Or it allows us to stay committed to a person, to a job, to a cause, to a community. So Saturn has us take things seriously and value the long commitment to something. But what do we do if that needs updating? Well, Saturn is controlling. So sometimes we get too far into, like, maybe we have a great relationship with our own Saturn and we're really good at doubling down on controlling something. Well, there are going to be certain times when other planets, other energies come in and help us loosen the grip of control, whether we like it or not. Saturn makes us work hard and earn the rewards. Some people describe Saturn, because it makes us work hard and earn our reward. Well, let me talk about the Saturn return. When Saturn makes it back to where it was when you were born, it's kind of like the authority figure or the model adult kind of knocking on your door and saying, how's your adulting going? How have you taken responsibility of all the things that you knew you had to take responsibility for? How has your discipline been going? How have you stepped into authority when you were offered the opportunity? Have you paid your bills? Do you owe creditors? Have you worked hard when you were called upon to work hard? Or did you kind of laze about and ignore reality? Did you pull a Peter Pan? And did you just sort of say, hey, I prefer to not grow up? Well, Saturn will come along at age 29 and a half and say, listen, sweetheart, time to grow up in this way, that way, or this other way. So that's where Saturn gets its bad rap when people are worried about Saturn. It is because it can be a pretty stern teacher. And if you've been in denial or willfully ignorant of, say, what too much partying can do, what being in debt can do, what, slacking off at work can do, what ignoring your health can do. Depends where Saturn is in your natal chart, but Saturn will come back there and say, what have you learned? And if you've been doing your best, I mean, do we ever always do only our best? No. But if you've been trying, your Saturn return should be fairly, I should say, it shouldn't be that harsh. That said, some people need bigger wake-up calls than others. So your Saturn return is basically like the master teacher of responsibility and stepping into everything you're capable of, coming and giving you a bill, and you've either got a credit or you've got a big debt to pay. If you've been working your batukas off, you'll probably get a promotion at age like 29 or 28 and a half or 29 and a half. You'll from 28 to 30. You could get a promotion. You could get a raise. You could get material evidence. So Saturn is of the earth. It's very tangible reality. You might be given a position of authority. So it can bring very material manifested reward. Now, at the second Saturn return, we're sort of going into another phase of life, which is, I hate to say it because I'm there, but elderhood. Okay. This is when at your second Saturn return, you're in a position where you're either in an actual position of starting to think about your legacy, or you're starting to think about your legacy. What are you passing on? What kind of elder are you? What are your gifts to the community? What are the consequences or rewards for how seriously you've taken responsibility in your life? What are the consequences or rewards for how you've exercised discipline in some area of life? Now, this is when we start to see some people's health breaking down. And that has a lot to do with the Saturn energy in our life. Where have we been a little out of control? Where have we not stepped in and taken good, responsible care of ourselves? This is when our bones start to be a concern, and, well, et cetera, et cetera. You get what I'm saying. Saturn literally does not let us get away without being accountable in our own lives. And so at the Saturn returns, you're getting a hard look at reality. What's gone well? Where have you applied yourself with discipline? And where do you need to tighten it up? And Saturn will show that to you in a variety of ways. Again, depending on what else is there with the Saturn in your natal chart, where your Saturn is, which part of life is really going to give you the most feedback. So that's Saturn. Well, let's do one more question. This looks like a bot wrote it in to me. Oh, this is interesting. So I'm wondering how this person even knew to ask this. It's funny because I haven't talked too much about this, but this person is asking about, I need to rephrase it because it's too gobbledygook. It's too complicated. There's all this personal examples, which I'm not going to put in here, but this has to do with health routines. Health routine? Yeah, health routine. You mean diet even? So this person is essentially saying they know what to do to take care of themselves, but they can't seem to stick to any one health routine. And I've heard astrology talks about health, food. Yes, it does. This person said the D word, my favorite, diet. Okay, so this person essentially wants to know what's up with the astrology chart and understanding your health, your optimal health routine. And this person is looking for help in sticking to something that is beneficial, I guess. I think sort of what you mean. So health routines and the natal chart. Okay. And not being able to stick to something. Boy, do I know this scenario. So, like I said in the first question, on the one hand, there's information. On the other hand, there's using the information. There's being conscious and intentional and trying to embody some of the lessons and in our natal chart. So the first thing I want to say is, if you're not sticking to something in your life, 80% of the time, you're not lazy. 20% of the time, you might be lazy. And that's okay. We humans deserve some lazy time. But 80% of the time is not laziness. 80% of the time, we're having trouble sticking to some sort of health prescription we've either come up for ourselves or a doctor's come up with for us, or a nutritionist or a trainer. 8 times out of 10, we don't stick to it because our nervous system is asking for something else. We start to self-sabotage ourselves when our nervous system goes haywire. It has nothing to do with willpower. Willpower is not what creates lasting change. It helps, but it doesn't keep the ball rolling because no one can sustain constant willpower. What seems to happen is the nervous system starts to go a little nutso, to use a scientific word, when the practices that we're doing or the diets we're trying to stick to, or even the kind of exercise we are determined to do, when these practices or foods or diets or rhythms or anything that we're trying to do on a daily basis, when it doesn't fit our innate design, our nervous system starts to get a little tense. We can start something super strong, right? But ultimately, we're going to sort of fall back. We're going to collapse back into what's comfortable and what's familiar. That's what our nervous system wants. Our nervous system wants to feel alignment. It wants to feel resonance. It wants to feel familiarity. It wants to feel comfort. It wants to feel ease. And if we're throwing in things that don't really sync up with what our system, our literal like nervous system, our energy body, even our physical organs, what they want. What does your self-care want from you? It's all described in the natal chart, and there are practices that suit you. What's an example? Well, let's see. An example would be, if I could take my, did she give me any examples about what she's having trouble with? No. I know one thing is to look at the south node of the moon. It's a very strong place to look for what can be draining you. Where you have a pull. It's like a bucket. It's the symbol in your chart that's shaped like a U with 2 little beads on top. It's like a bucket, but this bucket has holes in it, and it holds a lot of talents and gifts. We're really, really, really good at whatever the South Node symbolizes. Like my South Node is in Libra. And so I have relationship skills. I am good at listening to other people. I'm good at connecting with other people and helping and sort of navigating a relationship to discover where we might find some common ground. I'm also super tuned into aesthetics and like artistic things. But all in all, Libra seeks balance and connection. However, as a South Node drain on my system, I can get too hooked in to other people, too firmly connected to what other people want, what other people need, too hooked into the appearance of things, the look of things, especially as it applies to myself. And when I'm just constantly tending to other people's needs or constantly obsessed with how something is looking, shying away from conflict to maintain harmony at all cost, my energy suffers, aka my nervous system suffers. And when that happens, I will abandon whatever I set my sights on to change. I hope that makes sense. So when it comes to, I think I've forgotten the question already. Oh, yeah, sticking to a health routine. Essentially, the foods you eat have to match what your system needs. And there is not one single person in the world who needs the exact same foods and the same combination and frequency as another person. The way you eliminate waste from your body depends on factors that are completely unique to you. I'm not saying your body works differently, but you need certain practices or conditions for your body to sort of let go easily. Your movement is going to look very different from person to person. I'm a long distance walker. Somebody else might like to bench press, they might feel really vitalized when they bench press heavy weights. I don't even know if I said that right, but you know what I mean. Some people are dancers, some people are runners, we all feel good. Some people like the Tai Chi, some people like Qigong, some people like Pilates, some people feel good swimming. We all feel good moving our bodies different ways. That's just a really sort of blunt, obvious way. But you have to identify your practices, your foods, your nervous system, and find out what your whole system will accept as far as food, exercise, self-care, wellness practices. Some people need solitude. Other people need a community, like a workout class, to stay consistent. Like some people need to walk and talk. Some people need to walk alone. It's when you find the right things, which are all described in your natal chart, you will stick to the health routine. And then so it's not only the what as being right for you, which is in your chart, it's the when. So we were saying we can't update everything at the same time. We might need to just move one piece in order to move all the other pieces. So if you think of a body, mind, spirit, like a triangle, like a spirit on the top, body and mind, Western thinking says if you want to change your body over here, well, no, I put the body over here. Maybe I'll draw it out. So I'm not just pointing in the air. Okay. This is why I think I've been in energy medicine for eons, because this is the key piece that I love. Okay, so here, look, we've got spirit, body, mind. It's hard to do it in reverse. Western logic says, if you want to change your body, you have to work on the level of the body. But Chinese medicine and astrology and complementary medicine and homeopathy and like probably herbalism and all of it says, no, not necessarily. Sometimes working on the body can be too abrupt, can be too exhausting, can be too ungentle. Sometimes it's much easier to not sort of attack the body, go at the body with change, but to pull the body, maybe from the mind. This is what manifestation is, or mental work. You think about the athletes that sit there and rehearse the golf swing, rehearse the ball throwing, rehearse the ball hitting. And they've done these research studies where they had the same results when they went out to actually work physically. So, the mind can hold the body. So you can work on the mind level, or you can work on the spirit level. Maybe you work on the spirit level and that changes. I can't point, I'm not Vanna White. That changes the body. Or you work on the spirit level And that helps the mind, which moves the body. Oh, that was a good one. So we sort of pull the threads from different ways. Like, so when it comes to you and your health routine, maybe you're just coming at the health routine through the body and you're getting exhausted, or it's too much, or you're relying too much on your personal willpower to the point where you're inducing so much stress, and then your nervous system says enough, and you abandon whatever practice you're trying to implement. It's much easier to nudge one thing from the body, more from the mind, a little bit from the spirit, and everything will end up kind of shifting and moving and changing and adjusting to a higher level if you work all parts of the triangle, I guess is what I want to say. You're going to want to look at your rising sign. That will tell you a lot about how you manage your energy throughout the day, how you navigate, how you're channeling your energy into life during the day, and how what your physical body kind of needs on a really obvious level, and then how your physical self or even your personality needs a break, how you need to move through the world so that you feel ease and flow, and also how you might exhaust yourself. That's all in the rising sign. Then we have the sixth house will show a lot about your daily practices. When I really looked at my sixth house for real, I mean, and it took like 10 years for me to figure this out or learn it from other people, I was like, oh, that's why I like to walk. It's because it turns walking, it's kind of a Sagittarian thing, and it turns on my sense of assertiveness and courage and energy. I get energy from using a lot of energy. That's in my sixth house. I have Mars and Sagittarius in the sixth. That's not the only thing, but walking is a good way for me to channel some of this fire. It also, well, I don't want to get too derailed. Anyway, if you have nothing in your sixth house, it doesn't mean you don't have a daily practice. It just means that you look to the sign on the cusp of the sixth house, and that will tell you something. Every sign has to do with the body part. Every planet tells you how to use the energy in your body. And every house tells you where in your life these energies are best activated. So the sixth house tends to be our daily life, our routines where we're consistent or not. Like I have Neptune in the sixth house. Not easy for me to be consistent. Now, I can use that as an excuse, or I can find practices that help me be consistent, that really use that Neptune in a way that's pleasurable and meaningful so that I voluntarily devote myself to Neptunian practices. I think this is getting too astrological, but suffice it to say, we've got the first house, your rising sign, that's your body, your personality, your energy that you channel in the world. The sixth house, how you show up every day to take care of yourself. And then we've got the moon. The moon is the planet of self-care. But honestly, I've started to think of all the planets as self-care because, you know, our sun, it's how we shine. So we've got to vitalize ourselves. And I'm less and less in favor of just labeling the moon as the planet of self-care, even though it has some really big keys for us to pay attention to. So I think that's it. All right. So those were my Ask Aubrey questions. I have a few more that you all sent in. Please email me, or I have it on my website. You can put it in comments. You can DM me on Instagram. You can direct message me in Substack. You can reply to the email where you received this anywhere. You can put it in a comment on YouTube, and I would love to answer your questions. I have a question in here that I'm going to save until next time about parenting. I'll just give you a preview of what I'm going to do in the next Q&A. But this person said that my child has such a different chart than me. How do I parent them? So that's one of my passions, parenting with astrology. I say it often. I don't know how you raise children without knowing their natal chart. I just don't know. Doesn't mean you can't. I mean, there are amazing parents out there that have done incredible parenting jobs without knowing their child's natal chart. But honestly, I don't know how you pulled it off. Because if I didn't know, put it this way, I am confident that I didn't eliminate all therapy for my daughter, our daughter, but I am also confident that I reduced the therapy bills for later. I did things differently than my natural instincts would have had me do them because I knew her natal chart. So it's a gift. Get your child's chart read, even if, especially, even teenager, even grown, it's just so helpful. It's one of the most important dynamics of relationship astrology is you and your child. That is a relationship that will last a lifetime. And then there was a question about empty houses. And there's another one about, there is a lot of fear mongering, and part of my mission is to help people recover from toxic readings. And I'm not going to throw stones. I have given a couple of readings that I am pretty sure were doozies. There is one I can think of that I wish I could take back, and I debate monthly of whether I should reach out to this person who I did an astrology reading to when I was probably far too inexperienced to do a reading. And I said some things that just flew out of my mouth, and I regret it. And I learned, but this is the reality. We're talking to people about themselves, and people have had toxic readings. And part of my mission is to help undo that and to give people a real take on who they are, what I see. It's all good, honestly. It doesn't mean we don't have bad experiences, but this natal chart that you have is a miracle. It's a miracle. It's full of possibility and potential. And that's what we look at. We don't look at hard aspects or malefics, or it doesn't really have a place when we're talking human to human. We can use it in other ways, the classical traditions, but it's not helpful in when you're trying to create a life that's full of possibility and happiness and health. We have to look at what's real, like where can you go? And it is always so much fuller and more optimistic and exciting and expansive than anybody usually sees. This is my mission, to help you see that and to see how far, how big, how broad, how creative, how happy, how big of an experience you can have in life. You can go far. And I hope to see you live next time. Okay, bye.